Hi everyone. Okay, so I once had a girlfriend whose mum was worried that I couldn't love her. I want to make it clear that a person with Asperger's is just as capable of emotion as everyone else. We feel it all the same. The problems tend to be that we don't really understand it because the way everyone else expresses love and feelings tends to be a little different. So growing up in a new typical society, it's quite difficult to learn to express your own emotions first. We tend to learn to express our feelings like people keep teaching us how to, but sometimes that's just not us. Um, I know for a fact that I'm not very good with some physical touches, but others I am, and I express myself more in that strength than I do in others. So with my vocabulary, I'm not that good with expressing love in a lot of ways. It's hard to connect it because words for me are more of an intellectual tool, not an emotional tool. Um, my actions are how I express myself emotionally to people and emotionally to the people I love. I really do not like the idea that people think we're emotionless voids or robots. This is something that we tend to become when we are struggling to keep up with the demands that are put on us in social contexts. If you put a person with Asperger's alone on their own with something they enjoy, they will express themselves to their heart's content. They might be completely obsessed with trains and have an obsession that is borderline um, madness, but I have to admit that a lot of people I've seen in my life act the same way about someone they love, and apparently that's considered okay. So I want to understand that we do love people, and we do learn to express this with time given. For me, it took me a long time, and I always felt like it was never quite explained properly to me. I found that a lot of things like that weren't explained, just basic, simple ideas like how if you love someone and you love them unconditionally, that doesn't mean you always feel it. That was something I didn't understand, and it wasn't until I was about 20 when I actually asked that question to someone. I had to actually learn to ask what I needed to know because people just wouldn't give that to me. I'd have to actually um, learn what the problem was for me and the difficulty, and then work out how to express my desire to understand that from another person's point of view, and that was one of them. Loving all the time does not happen. People don't love another person all the time. They, I mean, they don't feel that love all the time. They know they love them, but it's not a constant feeling, and this is something I did not understand. I have to admit that for a long time I didn't understand why my emotions came and go, and I always thought everyone else's emotions were always there. But the more I've learned about people's psychology, the more I learned that that's just not true. Emotions come and go. Sometimes they have the effect, sometimes they don't, and especially if the person learns a dysfunctional habit, it can teach them not to do that. This also brings up asexuality for people with Asperger's. I feel that a lot of people in the Asperger's community and autistic communities feel asexual a lot of the time and very confused. And I think it's really just because they are still very conflicted with their emotions and their feelings and have yet to actually just really understand them on a level that makes sense to them. They're still trying to understand them from other people's point of views where they really need to learn their own point of views. I find that that's what worked for me because for a long time, a lot of my emotions weren't connecting with me properly, and I found that once I started thinking a bit in my way and working out how to express them for me when it was no one else's. uh, no one else's desire. When it was just me, just my desire, no expectations, no design or anything, just me. That's when I started learning how to express myself properly, and I had to admit that it was almost like learning how to ride a bike with each emotion. Uh, I'm not sure whether that was a product of Asperger's or growing up in a society that doesn't see the world from a view that I have. I have to admit, there's probably a lot of people who are not autistic and not Asperger's that are probably racially discriminated people and other kind of discriminations that get the same difficulties because someone else doesn't see it from their view, and it takes them a long time to work out how it fits to them because there's no manual. And I can tell you, with someone with Asperger's, there's always a uniqueness between every part of them. The old saying, if you met one person with Asperger's, you've met one person with Asperger's. We are so different between one another, just like everyone else in the world has difference between them. And I think it's more escalated because we're Asperger's, because everyone has differences. I just think someone with Asperger's tends to be more susceptible to um, change in a lot of ways. Even though a lot of us try to fight it, tooth and nail, but you can't really fight change. You can accept it. It's a much better idea, I reckon. Anyway, I thought I'd just do a quick rundown on love, and I hope you guys enjoyed this.